Who is God? What is God? Does God exist? Does God not exist? Is it Christian God? Is it Muslim God? Is it Judeo? Are there multiple gods? Is there Buddha? So guys, I'm going to be talking about my understanding, my belief, and where I stand right now. And I might get some things wrong. I know I'll get some things wrong. I'm going to try my best to articulate and express myself, and I'm sorry if it's a bit disorganized too, guys. I appreciate it. So my definition of God is God as the universe, God as everything that's ever existed and hasn't existed, God as nature. And so one quote that I read when I read the Tao Te Ching a really, really long time ago about Taoism. The Tao is another word that's described as, God or the universe. The Tao. So anytime you hear the word Tao or Tao, just replace it with God. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. These two spring from the same source but differ in name. This appears as darkness, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. So how I interpret that, guys, is God is everything. It's the universe. It's all the things. It cannot be named, because everything that can be named, God is beyond that. We can try to understand it, but it's the universe. It's everything that's ever existed, everything that's ever happened. Nature, birds, plants, fishes, wind, feelings, forces, truths, principles. So that's one of my understandings of how I believe of God, like the Taoist and the Eastern philosophy. And I'm gonna name another. I'm gonna start with Eastern and I'll move in. And so I have a Western and I have an Eastern. I have multiple religious perspectives. Again, let me just say, I respect and I admire and I truly respect all religions. I'm not particular against any particular religion, and I have tremendous respect for all religious practices as well, and all spiritual practices. Okay, so with that being said, guys, I would highly recommend you read the Tao Te Ching completely. It's really short, but it's really powerful for myself. It helped me a lot. And I read it in conjunction, so I was reading the Tao Te Ching at the same time I was reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Stoicism. And it's crazy to see the parallels between the two. And of course, highly recommend Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It's a really good book. I'll probably make a separate video about Stoicism, my agreements, my fundamentals, and some things that I can see some shortcomings, but highly recommend you read Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, obviously, but obviously the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. It was written like thousands of years ago. Okay, my second influence about God and the universe that's had a huge impact on me, and I've tried to listen to a lot of these podcasts, not podcasts, but audio recordings about this person named Alan Watts. And if you guys know him, he's a huge powerhouse in like spirituality. He had the full Christian understanding, he had the full Eastern philosophy, and he brought everything together. Again, not everyone's gonna agree with him. There's some things that I disagree with as well, but huge powerhouse, guys. I would recommend trying to find any audio clips or clips that you can have of Alan Watts. And so a quote that he said that resonates with me a few is, "We do not come into this world, we come out of it, as leaves from a tree, as the ocean waves, the universe people. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe." So in this sense, I replace the word universe with God interchangeably, as nature, universe, and God is all one and the same. It's everything. Another quote is, a priest once quoted to me the Roman saying that a religion is dead when the priests laugh at each other across the altar. I always laugh at the altar be it Christian, Hindu, or Buddhist, because real religion is the transformation of anxiety into laughter. So again, guys, this is something I believe in too, that all religions have truth to them. They all help people become, heal and do good in the world, and try to remove suffering and increase their spiritual well-being. And whether it be, again, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, any types of religions, even the indigenous peoples' religions, or all the religions in the past that have gone, they all help to remove suffering and things like that. So that's something I believe in. But yeah, definitely recommend Alan Watts. He's really good. How I found him is I would go use the Waking Up meditation app, and then they have the whole Alan Watts Chronicles on there, like all his audio recordings. Is really, really powerful. In that sense, guys, I am familiar with the Eastern philosophy of God as everything that's ever happened, everything that will happen, everything that hasn't happened, and the laws and the ways of the universe. And of course I believe in science, guys. I fundamentally believe in science, but the reason why things happen the way they do, right? And then I also believe in, it's hard for me to say whether I believe totally in Christianity, because I know some people are going to come after me of like, oh, you believe in all this stuff, but how can you call yourself a Christian? So one thing I would put my hand and I distanced myself away from Christianity and Catholic Church, because as a kid I was forced to go to church. I was like, oh, this is BS. Then I read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins when I first graduated. So I was like a hardcore atheist when I read that, The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. I still would recommend that book, guys, even if you're not an atheist. It's just good to understand and see things more with multiple perspectives. But guys, then I read multiple books like Dostoevsky books. So again, JP, Jordan Peterson, all these people that have recommended these books, I read them and they're really powerful. So what's that one book called? Sorry. Okay, yeah, Crime and Punishment. Highly recommend that book. The Brothers Karamazov, if I'm getting that right, highly recommend that book, guys. John Steinbeck's books, so East of Eden, highly recommend this book. So all these books, guys, are fictions, but are talking about God as well, in the Christian God, and that helped me in my understanding of, it's really true. And I know, for example, I watched a lot of videos, a lot of podcasts about people being at their absolute worst, at their absolute bottom worst, and they may have done things and they have huge guilt and they feel like there's nothing left and they're at the rock bottom. Like they've either done things, they have PTSD, they feel like there's no redemption, and the only redemption for them is either killing themselves or just continuing to give up. And they find, and I read and I see and I read, all the books I've read, and people that discover God and they read the Bible, it saves them. And that's a true power. And so yeah, so I'm not in any particular camp, guys. I am trending. I've gravitated a lot to Judeo-Christian values, Christian books, the Bible. I'm reading right now The Divine Comedy by Dante's Inferno, or Dante Alighieri. So I am trending in all these multiple directions. It's kind of hard for me to piece everything together. Joseph Campbell is another powerhouse, guys. I'd recommend him. The Hero with 1,000 Faces. I read that book maybe a year or two ago. I'd highly recommend that book. It's really hard to get through, but he talks about the hero's journey, and it's a really, really good book if you can get through it. It's hard to read though, but Joseph Campbell, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, he talks about the hero's path, and I'm sure you guys have heard about the hero's path. So another one is all gods, all the heavens, all hells are within you. Yeah, so guys, I know this video is really long. I'm trying to understand it myself. I'm sure I didn't get everything out, but you know, there's some truth to, again, when I read these more of these older like fiction Christian books by Dostoevsky or John Steinbeck, or you know, The Count of Monte Cristo, all these things that talk about salvation and redemption and transcendence and trying to elevate with love, there's some truth to it, right? And I know because I've experienced it myself. When I truly ask for forgiveness, right, I experience it. When I truly have love in my heart and I experience God, there's some truth to it too. And I'm trying to balance everything. I know there's a lot, you know, the Alan Watts, and I'm sure everyone is not going to agree with me, and I'm not going to disagree with people. And I have utmost respect for everything. I'm trying to find things my own way. Growing up Catholic, being Chinese, having some Buddhist influences as well, being attracted to psychological understandings, right? The Carl Jung, all this stuff. I appreciate everyone. Thanks for watching, guys. And I will leave you with a quote from, of course, Dostoevsky, The Brothers Karamazov. JP talks about you got to read those 5 books, and I read 4. I'm reading on number 5, but Crime and Punishment, The Brothers Karamazov, Notes from the Underground, and The Idiot. The Idiot is a great book. So guys, I highly recommend that book, but I'll leave a quote from Dostoevsky. The awful thing is that beauty is mysterious as well as terrible. God and the devil are fighting there, and the battlefield is the heart of man. Yeah, thanks guys for watching. Peace, love, and wish you guys the best. Peace. To this day, God is the name by which I designate all things which cross my willful path violently and recklessly. All things which upset my subjective views, plans, intentions, and change the course of my life for better or worse.